So, the Anglo-Saxon Church. Well, there were two important people at the top of the church in England, and that was the Archbishop of York and the Archbishop of Canterbury. Underneath them there were about 15 bishops, and the bishop's job was to make sure in their area, which was known as a see, S-E-E, or a diocese, you can see the board for those keywords, in that area they had to make sure the priests were doing the right job, to make sure villages were being looked after, religious services were being carried out properly, that sort of thing. So there's the archbishops, the bishops, the priests. On the side of those there were also the place that the monks lived, the monasteries, ruled by an abbot, and then there was the nunneries for the women, ruled by an abbess. And the monks and the nuns prayed all day, they wrote histories, they created tapestries, they acted as teachers and advisors to lords as well, sometimes in the local area, as sort of a link to God. So the abbots and the abbesses also had quite important roles, and one of the big roles of the monks was writing histories. Much of what we know about this period was written by monks, in fact practically everything. The church was a really powerful, rich organisation, and it owned 25% of all of the land in England. Also, the archbishops would be on the Witan, and some of the more powerful bishops might be as well. What about what people believed at the time? Well, they wholeheartedly, 100% believed that life was short and sharp and a test, quite miserable, and when you died, you were going to heaven or you were going to hell. And they were terrified, well, you would be, about going to hell and having your soul tortured for eternity. So they thought the jobs that the priests were doing was so important for them and what would happen to them in the afterlife. And they thought that it was important they went to church or their souls would go to hell. They prayed all the time. They believed that their prayers decided whether there was diseases that would break out, whether sick people would be healed, whether good harvests or bad harvests would come, whether the winter weather was terrible or the summer weather or just the weather generally. And they also had some major holy days in the calendar where they celebrated things like Saints' Days, Christmas Day, Easter, that sort of thing. And when they had those days, they must have loved them because they didn't work in the fields those days. They had feasts and they had games. So yeah, there we go. That's the church in Anglo-Saxon England.